Hello ladies and gentlemen, HOLLOWTIDE here, and today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for quite some time, and that is the rise of skill in gaming and how it's actually hurting multiplayer games. Players today are better than they've ever been. The skill ceiling has skyrocketed, with players mastering mechanics faster, strategizing, and grinding longer. And that's not just for ranked games, but just for casual game modes. But is this rise in skill actually ruining multiplayer games for the average player? We're going to talk about that in this video. But before we get into that, I want to thank today's sponsor. No, you all are the sponsors of the video. I am grinding away towards 15,000 subscribers. We are less than 100 from that. I would love to hit it by the end of this year. We only have a couple of days left. So if you love Halo content and gaming in general, I could be your third favorite Halo YouTuber. All you have to do is subscribe, and I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like because it helps me immensely in YouTube's algorithm. So we're going to start at the beginning. Well, no, not really the beginning. I don't want to waste anybody's time. So let's just go back to the 90s. We had multiplayer games like Quake and GoldenEye, but many of these games just felt accessible. Why was that? Well, I think it's because people were figuring out things at their own pace. The meta, if you could have even called it back then, was developed organically over time. And if we look at today, the story is completely different. We have day one metas that are discussed on YouTube and Reddit and Twitter. And this isn't just for FPS games, this goes like with PvE games. There's YouTube guides within hours. With the rise of streaming, we get to see pro players play all the time. So we see that the learning curve went from a little hill to just a vertical cliff. Right now, you can literally go to YouTube and type in best loadout for Warzone, Fortnite, Marvel Rivals, Valorant, anything. And there are hundreds of videos talking about it. Do you feel like your sensitivity is bad? Just go to any stream and type in !sins and get whatever pro player sensitivity you want. The wealth of information is abundant in today's age. But what does all that mean for multiplayer games? Well, for starters, the rise of highly skilled players have made games significantly, we'll say, less fun for casual audiences. Now, I understand nobody wants to load into a match after a long day working their 9 to 5 and dealing with their children to get stomped on by a kid who's 10 years old, who plays Fortnite 10 hours a day. And I think that skill disparity affects player retention now. We're going to get into something a little controversial, and that is skill-based matchmaking in games like Call of Duty and Fortnite have introduced that to bridge that gap. But to me, the system comes with its own problems. While you've made everybody feel equal and made, I guess, bad/casual players feel like they can compete, the matches have turned sweaty for everybody. You have to perform at your peak optimal skill level all the time to compete in those lobbies. And that doesn't matter if you're a pro or a person who plays 30 minutes every week. I'm not advocating for pub stomping or anything like that. I feel like I grew up on online gaming when you just absolutely got smashed by a good player and there was nothing you could do about it except you would just go play the next game. I feel like if people enjoyed whatever game they were playing, whether it be Halo or Call of Duty or whatever, it just doesn't seem like people got as annoyed back then. I personally remember playing Call of Duty 4 for the first time on a friend's Xbox in college, and I got absolutely destroyed, and I was hooked. I was like, I have to get better. I have to play this. And I come from like a sports background where I'm very competitive and I want to get better. Even if I'm getting beat by somebody, I look at that and say, I want to get to that level, and I just don't quit. Now, looking at Halo specifically, I think that we can kind of look at the death of the relaxed multiplayer experience. And I'm talking about when you're hanging out, just laughing, doing wacky things in games. I think games like Halo 3 were as much about fun as they were about winning. But as the skill ceiling has risen, the focus has shifted to hyper-optimized playstyles. Sometimes I think of Destiny, where, that's a very casual PvP game, but with how specific the metas are and how people min-max everything, experimental play is punished rather than celebrated. You can't just have a fun loadout because there's 3 people on the other team using the most optimal weapons. In a conversation I had with somebody else, they said that another issue is the rise in toxicity. Now, we had quote-unquote toxicity back in the day with people, teabagging and, open lobby chats and stuff like that, but I feel like now, with how high stakes it is, with how sweaty the games are, it's not just trash talk, it's actual harassment. And I think that also goes into what was once a welcoming multiplayer environment has become extremely hostile to new people who come to play the game. I've seen this in Halo. I have friends who are not like big Halo players, but they, downloaded the game and tried to play, and they were just completely harassed by people who were like, you don't know how to use this, why are you running around like that, why don't you throw nades and stuff in? They were like, it's not fun for me. Now, I think that some game developers are aware of this shift, and they've tried to balance it. We do have ranked modes that are supposed to cater to competitive players, where there's rewards and whatnot, whereas the casual playlist is supposed to be more accessible. But with skill-based matchmaking, it's kind of just deleted the whole thing. Why would I play a casual mode if it's just as sweaty as the ranked playlist, but I don't get any rewards? I think skill-based matchmaking does have a place in gaming, and that's basically protecting like the bottom 5% from playing the top 5%. I think a casual fan base keeps a game alive. And it's just weird to me sometimes that developers really look at these retention numbers and think that they're retaining people, but then if you look at how many people are playing those games, they're dropping like flies. It's weird to me. Now, you can manipulate numbers however you want and say that this is working and find some nugget of data that makes it seem like it is. And I don't know if gamers today want to invest the amount of time to reach the skill ceiling to be super competitive. I think about Titanfall 2 and how much fun I have in that game, but the skill gap between like the bottom player, the average player, and a high-skilled player is so wide that I do think that it turned people off from playing it. Now, this is where you ask, HOLLOWTIDE, is there a solution? And I would like to think that there is, and not all hope is lost. We've seen quote-unquote fun games like Among Us or Fall Guys, that there is a place for just low-pressure, fun multiplayer experiences. The problem is those games are not first-person shooter games, or they're not like Halo. And the one thing that Halo really had going for it was custom matches. And for some reason, I feel like that's been forgotten either by the community or just the player base isn't big enough. I'm not sure what has happened with that side. Maybe people don't feel like they want to invest their time into playing a game if they're not playing it to be competitive. I'm not sure. But you would think a game like Halo would be the most successful when it comes to this stuff because it has a competitive pedigree. It has social modes. It has large BTB game modes that are chaotic. It has an abundance of custom games that are made by creative people. But it's just not like that. And maybe it's because Forge and stuff didn't release at launch with Halo Infinite, and there was a huge missed opportunity there. But sometimes I think that it's deeper than that. The rise in a player's skill is a testament to just how far gaming has come. But it's created a new challenge for devs and players alike. Is the solution nerfing the skilled players and making an even playing field, or is it about fostering spaces where fun is over competition? It's almost like looking at sports where, athletes today would absolutely mop the floor against people in like the 50s. It's just not fair. It's gotten to the point where if you're just slightly below average on a team, you are exposed. But what do you think? Is gaming better or worse for how skilled players have become? Let me know in the comments. I read all of them, and I respond to most of them. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and you can even hit that notification bell for more little deep dives into gaming culture and Halo in general. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around the ring. Peace!